In this video, we're going to show you the backlog of most of the slugs created by our viewers, and you'll be surprised how many there are. Now, you may have heard me mention in the past that it may have taken 6 months or a year before we got to this slug or that slug, so maybe you'll understand why now. The first slug is by master machinist Nick Ross from Tennessee. This features three 300 blackout bullets mounted to a solid copper base. The thing is monstrous, and that's a AAA battery for comparison. I think he only sent 4 or 5 of these, so I don't have too many chances to get it right. This is going to be a difficult one because it is quite heavy, over 1.8 ounces and very long too. So that's going to be a very challenging slug to make work. And those are Lehigh Defense subsonic bullets, by the way. And Nick sent another design that I believe uses 308 bullets, but it's quite a bit shorter and should be a little easier to stabilize. But will it sling apart from centrifugal force? We'll find out. And again, I think there's only 4 or 5 of these, so I don't have a lot of chances to get it right as far as the load recipe goes. Next up, we have a handful of slugs that Evan Perry has created for us that we have yet to test out. Now, this is kind of a simple slug. It may be designed to hold a nail gun blank. Next, we have a very long, possibly self-stabilizing slug. It'll be interesting to see how that does without any spin, if it'll stabilize or not. And I think that will fit inside a 3-inch shell. Maybe. Next, we have this one that's kind of mostly made out of wood, believe it or not. Not sure how well that'll hold up. It possibly will. But the metal part has a hole in it. May cause it to whistle, maybe. Who knows? And then there's this very similar design. A little different shape to it. And the metallic part in the front has just a hole in the side of it. It doesn't go all the way through. That might whistle also if shot at a subsonic speed. Again, the question is, how will the wood hold up? And another wooden design. This one's made out of particle board, it looks like. Very lightweight. It does have a steel pin to add a little bit of weight to it, but if that thing will hold together, we should be able to propel that thing quite fast. Next, we have a slug that appears to be 3D printed, and it has a large steel core. Now, my concern with this one is YouTube does not like 3D printed ammunition or guns or anything like that, and that heavy steel core may just end up going right through the back of the slug from inertial setback. Next, we have the backlog from Brian from Northern California. Now, this is one of his earlier submissions, made out of a lot of stuff I think he got out of the Granger catalog. Very simple slug, very nice looking. Next, we have a design that utilizes a Torx bit with an aluminum, also known as aluminium, body. I imagine that has great potential for penetration. Here we have another early design, mostly aluminum body and a copper core that goes all the way through. And we have shot similar ones of that design earlier. Here is another design that I believe has a tungsten penetrator core, and that has the potential to go through an AR-500 body armor plate. Next, we have a resin cast slug. Brian's very good at doing that. This one is filled with a stack of, I can't remember what kind of, are those spring washers or star washers? Anyway, a whole bunch of washers inside that slug. Now, this is another slug cast in resin with an arrowhead in it. Very cool looking. The cool thing about using the resin is he's not really machining anything. He's creating a slug that is the right bore diameter and putting oddball stuff inside there that normally is the wrong size to shoot down the bore. Here's a slug that uses a large round head bolt. I believe the body is made out of maybe UHMW, some kind of white plastic. It's a very simple design, but it looks like it has a lot of potential. Brian often uses some pretty expensive components in some of his slugs. Here we see a MIG welding tip, all copper, cast in resin, so that's the proper bore size. We can use a sabot with that, shoot it through a rifled shotgun, and obtain good stability. Here's a design that uses a tungsten core, another expensive component. And that, of course, is another contender to possibly punch through an AR-500 plate, probably punch through the lead plate. Neat design. Here's another design that utilizes that white plastic, UHMW, not sure exactly, but I'm sure it's in the notes that he sent me, and I can't remember what's inside there. But I think it's a bolt or something. I don't know. But it's a cool looking slug and looks like it'd be easy to come up with a recipe for. And here we have a very large core, probably 50 caliber core, cast in the Brian resin. Whatever resin he uses, it's very tough and works very well. Here we have another early design by Brian. Very tall slug. I think it's about 1.5 inches long, and I believe that is a tungsten core. Another expensive component. Beautiful looking. Look how shiny it is. Here's another resin cast slug. It uses a kind of inverted screw going through there, and I don't know, is that a T-nut on the front? It's hard to tell. Looks like it'd be a simple slug to come up with a load recipe. Not super heavy or anything. Should be a fast penetrator. Here's another early design by Brian, and that was probably sent over a year ago that we have not gotten to yet. Very cool looking slug. Should just penetrate through everything just like you would think it would. Here's a very simple all aluminum slug board for a 27 caliber nail gun blank. Here we have another resin cast slug that uses a 1 ounce, I believe it's 1 ounce, tungsten fishing weight inside. That is an expensive component. And you can tell that Brian really likes creating slugs for us. Here is another early design by Brian. I believe that is some kind of a security nut, and uses an inverted bolt that goes through the center of it. Another slug that may have the potential to go through our lead plate. Here's a very long slug that utilizes a concrete anchor inside of it. And it's possible that concrete anchor will open up like a hollow point, expand inside the gel block. Can't wait to try that one out. Now you may say, hey, I saw that one before. This is a little different design. The Bolo round that we shot about a month ago had 4 little thingies inside there. This one has 3, but the cables are a lot stronger. So we'll see if the cables will hold up in these. If you're not convinced that Brian is a madman, here's a slug made out of a self-tapping wood anchor. I probably got that terminology wrong, but wow, what a wild looking slug. Who would imagine we'd ever shoot something like that? Well, Brian, I got to give him an A+ for creativity. And here's a slug that's made out of a Healy coil and a bolt going through there. Healy coil is something you repair threads with. If you strip your threads out on your engine block, you kind of run a special tap through there, then you put the Healy coil in there, and then you can put the bolt back in there, and everything is supposed to be good again. And here is another design that uses a concrete anchor, little variant. I'm not sure what that's made out of. It's just cast steel or what. Should be very tough. Hopefully it'll open up. Looks like he's got some extra stuff inside there. We'll find out when we shoot him, and I'll give you the details then. And then we have another design that uses some kind of a self-tapping wood screw thingy. I don't know what it's called. Everyone's got in the comments section is like, Jeff, you're an idiot. Don't you know what that is? But it appears to have some extra steel pins in there. That'll be interesting to see if they'll come apart in the gel. But just another wacky design by Brian from Northern California. I think this is another concrete anchor design. This one's just a lot shorter. It's all steel cast in resin. Will it open up like a hollow point? Well, we'll find out. Brian is the resin master caster. And these are .675 caliber, and we'll use a sabot. Here's a slug that has a few more components to it. It's a little more complex. I believe it has a tungsten penetrator in the middle, the steel sleeve. It's surrounded by a brass sleeve, I think. I should have taken better notes, huh? But you get the general idea, hopefully. Now, I believe this is an all-machine slug. Brian usually doesn't machine much, but this one's all machined, and it features basically 2 slugs that are threaded, connected with a little kind of a set screw in there. So we'll see if those actually stay together in flight. He calls this one the Whistling Pig. Okay, we've got this one. It's cast in resin. It's a bolt. I believe it said it's a grade 9 bolt. Do they make grade 9 bolts? But that will be very interesting to see if it'll penetrate the lead plate or an AR-500 body armor panel. Now, here's a slug that Brian's very proud of. He actually calls this the Lifesaver slug because it resembles a stack of lifesavers. And I think those are actually steel washers that are all kind of color-coded. It should be interesting. I'm not sure if it'll all come apart inside the gel or what it'll do, but it'll be a fun one to test out. Now, I think this slug was definitely inspired by the rods from God. Has a bunch of roll pins in there, aluminum washers that have been drilled out to space them out properly, a steel core, beautiful workmanship, just a different design, a little bit of machining, a little bit of resin casting. I cannot wait to test that. Do you like tungsten? Well, that's a lot of tungsten there. A very long tungsten core cast in resin. That may go through our AR-500 plate. Definitely go through the lead plate. That's my prediction. That's going to be a fun one. And the next one is kind of a variant to that one. Looks like the same tungsten core. A little bit shorter body. Brian and I have been for months trying to arrange when he can drive down here and actually be a guest shooter and shoot his own stuff. I can't wait to do that with him. And we'll definitely let him decide what slug he gets to shoot. And I think he'll bring his son with him too. Now here's another slug that a lot of people have wanted us to shoot, a step drill. Now if we just stuck a step drill in a shell and shot it, it would probably gouge the heck out of the barrel. But using the resin, it's the right bore size. There's no barrel contact, and that is going to be a fun one to test. Next, we have a slug made out of a piece of key stock. I think that's 3/8 key stock steel, mild steel. It proves that using the right materials like the resin jacket, you can fit a square pig in a round hole and have success. I have no idea what Brian was thinking when he came up with this idea. This is a lead fishing weight, kind of shaped like a fat banana. It's heavy. It's not very well balanced. It's not balanced at all, in fact. But that will be a fun one to test out. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Now, this is just a brilliant design, an exercise in patience and creativity and all that. It has a bunch of cotter pins. Those are connected to a little tiny key ring at the bottom. Has a steel core all cast in resin. That is just a fantastic design. I can't imagine how long these took to make. Wow. And definitely let us know which slug you want us to shoot next. This is another, I believe, tungsten core. Very long tungsten core, about 1/4 inch in diameter. I bet that will pop through the AR-500 plate like butter. Yes, Brian is a very busy slug creator. We got more. Brian has created this brass-sleeved monster. I'm not sure what the details. It looks like it might accept a 27 caliber nail gun blank. I don't know. We'll find out though. And I believe, folks, that is all of Brian's backlog slugs. A whole bunch. He keeps sending more and more. And I love it. But it's going to keep us busy for a long, long time. Now, one of my ideas is to shoot a super ball, also known as a bouncy ball. But they are so light. I think they're like 2 or 3 grams each. So we're going to have to load 2 or 3 of these into a shell. And hopefully we get something exciting going on. But it's an idea that a lot of people have wanted us to try out. See how super balls going, at supersonic speeds, how they react. Now, Lonzo and I actually took some test shots just to see if we get powder ignition, see what kind of spread we get and all that. They spread all over the place. This was only about 10 yards away, and he completely missed the jug. And with these tests, I had to ask myself, is this something that people are going to enjoy watching or not? Missing a lot of stuff, and they are light, so the impacts will not be, very exciting, I guess. But really, the idea is to see if super balls would make a very good home defense round, less lethal round. They'd probably be lethal at certain velocities. How accurate they're going to be. Only one ball actually hit the jug, but pretty substantial damage to the jug, I guess, for something that's so light. So let me know if you would like to see us do more testing with the super balls, or if you think it just sucks. Next, we have a couple designs by Danny Herrera from Washington State. These are solid lead. I believe he made his own mold for these things. Very heavy. I believe they weigh more than 1.5 ounces each. Now, I believe the shotgun scientists have tested these, about a month or 2 ago. So I'm looking forward to trying these. And last but not least, we have a submission by Michael Smith from Idaho. He has submitted some slugs to us in the past, including the Blue Falcon. And this is a discarding sabot round that uses 2, I believe those are 50 caliber muzzle loading slugs. Or projectiles or bullets, whatever you want to call them. That's going to be a tricky one to load. I think we could do it. We often have problems with the 3D printed components shattering, but it may work still. Now you, the viewer, you can help participate too by giving us an idea of what you would like us to shoot next. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but it gives you an idea of what we have coming up. We'll see you next time.